Welcome back to Soft Light Theory, a place where science speaks softly and healing begins with a breath. If you've ever felt your heart racing for no reason, if anxiety arrives like an uninvited guest with no clear cause, if you've asked yourself, "Why do I feel this way?" when nothing is even wrong, you're not alone, and you're not broken. Tonight, we're going to explore one of the most confusing experiences of anxiety. Feeling anxious when there's no obvious reason, no threat, no danger, no clear trigger. Just a tightness in your chest, a flutter in your stomach, thoughts that won't stop spinning. It feels unfair. It feels frustrating. But here's the truth. Your brain isn't malfunctioning. It's actually doing exactly what it was designed to do. And in this video, we're going to gently uncover why this happens through the lens of neuroscience, evolution, and the quiet wisdom of your own nervous system. Before we begin, I invite you to subscribe to Soft Light Theory. If this video brings you even a moment of calm, please like it, so others searching in the middle of the night can find this healing too. And I'd love to know, where in the world are you listening from? Drop your location and local time in the comments, whether it's 3 a.m. or midday. This space is global, gentle, and yours. Now, let's begin. With a breath, with curiosity, with the science of why your brain feels anxious for no reason, and how understanding this can be the first step toward healing. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out even slower. Let's walk together through the landscape of your own mind. Chapter 1. The Whisper Before the Storm. Your body speaks before your mind can hear. In the quiet moments, something stirs, a flutter, a tightness, a shadow without shape. This is where we begin, in the space between feeling and knowing, where anxiety lives without words. You wake in the middle of the night, and everything is quiet. The room is still. The air is soft. The world outside your window sleeps. But inside you, something hums, something stirs. A tightness across your chest, a flutter beneath your ribs. Your breath feels shallow, as if the air has become too thick to pull in deeply. You search your mind for a reason. Did something happen today? Did you forget something important? Is there danger nearby? But there is nothing. No argument, no deadline, no threat lurking in the shadows. Just this feeling, this quiet, insistent unease that arrived without warning, without explanation, without permission. This is the whisper before the storm, and it's where we begin tonight. Because anxiety doesn't always announce itself with words. It doesn't always come with a story you can point to and say, yes, that's why I feel this way. Sometimes it arrives as sensation first, a tightness, a tremor, a weight that presses against your chest like invisible hands. Your body is speaking, but it's speaking in a language older than thought, older than reason, older than the words you've learned to name your feelings with. And so you lie there, in the dark, wondering, why do I feel this way when nothing is even wrong? Let me tell you something true. Your body is not lying to you. It's not making things up. It's not broken or overreacting. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do. It's scanning, listening, monitoring, protecting. And sometimes, in that process, it finds something you didn't know was there. Your brain is an ancient instrument. It has been shaped over millions of years, not by logic, not by modern life, not by the world of emails and alarms and endless information, but by survival. Long before you learned to read or speak or reason, your ancestors lived in a world where danger was real and immediate. A rustle in the grass could be the wind, or it could be a predator. A shadow in the trees could be nothing, or it could be everything. Those who paused to think, to analyze, to weigh evidence, to decide rationally, often didn't live long enough to pass on their genes. But those who felt first, those whose bodies tensed at the first sign of something off, those whose hearts raced before their minds could name the threat, they lived. And you are their descendant. Inside your brain, deep beneath the folds of your cortex, beneath the thinking, reasoning, planning parts of your mind, there is a small almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. It is old, primitive, powerful, and it does not wait for permission to act. The amygdala is your brain's alarm system. It watches everything: the tone of a voice, the shift in someone's expression, the tension in your own muscles, the rhythm of your breath. It listens to signals you're not even aware you're sending. And when it detects something, anything that might be a threat, it doesn't pause to check with your conscious mind. It doesn't stop to ask, "Are we sure about this?" It acts. It floods your bloodstream with adrenaline. It tightens your muscles. It speeds your heart. It sharpens your senses. It prepares your body to fight, to flee, to freeze. All of this happens in milliseconds, faster than thought, faster than awareness. By the time you realize you feel anxious, your body has already been responding for several seconds, maybe longer. This is why anxiety can feel like it comes from nowhere, because by the time you notice it, the storm has already begun inside you. But here's what makes modern anxiety so confusing. The threats we face today are rarely the ones our amygdala was trained to recognize. There are no predators in your bedroom, no immediate physical danger in the quiet of the night, and yet your body responds as if there are. Because your amygdala doesn't distinguish between a lion in the grass and a looming work deadline. It doesn't know the difference between a physical threat and the fear of being judged, rejected, or left behind. It only knows one language: danger or safety. And in the modern world, with its constant noise, its endless demands, and its unpredictable rhythms, safety has become harder and harder for your nervous system to feel. So your body stays alert, vigilant, ready, even when there's nothing to be ready for. Let's slow down for a moment. Let's breathe together. In through your nose, slowly, gently. Out through your mouth, longer, softer. Feel the air move through you. Feel your chest rise and fall. Notice the rhythm. This is your body, here, now. Not in danger, not under threat. Just breathing, just being. And yet, even now, as you breathe, your amygdala is still watching, still listening. It never stops, it never sleeps. It is the part of you that has kept your ancestors alive for millennia, and it takes its job very seriously. But sometimes, often in fact, it misreads the signals. It feels the tightness in your shoulders and thinks, "Threat." It notices your shallow breathing and thinks, "Danger." It senses the exhaustion in your nervous system and thinks, "Something is wrong." And so it activates. It prepares you. It sends the whisper before the storm, that vague, shapeless unease that tells you to be careful, to stay alert, to watch out. But there is no storm coming. Not really. There is only your body doing what it knows how to do, protecting you, loving you, trying in its ancient, wordless way to keep you safe. And this is the paradox of anxiety without reason. It has a reason. You just can't see it yet. The reason isn't always external. It isn't always something that happened today or something you forgot or something you can point to and fix. Sometimes the reason is internal, physiological, stored in the memory of your nervous system, like an old song you didn't know you still remembered. Your body holds on to things your mind has long since moved past. A stressful period from months ago, a moment of fear you barely noticed at the time.
A pattern of pushing through exhaustion, of ignoring your needs, of pretending you're fine when you're not. All of these experiences leave traces, chemical traces, electrical traces, patterns in your nervous system that linger like echoes. And sometimes, in the quiet of the night, when there are no distractions, when the world goes still, those echoes grow louder. Your body finally has space to speak. And what it says is this: I've been holding too much. I've been watching too closely. I need you to slow down. I need you to listen. So when you feel anxious for no reason, know this: your body isn't broken. It's communicating. Your mind isn't failing. It's processing. Your nervous system isn't overreacting. It's overwhelmed. And the whisper before the storm? It's not a warning of danger. It's an invitation. An invitation to pause, to breathe, to turn toward yourself with curiosity instead of fear. To ask, not what's wrong with me, but what is my body trying to tell me? Tonight, we've begun to explore the invisible landscape where anxiety lives, the space between sensation and thought, between feeling and knowing. We've met the amygdala, that ancient guardian deep within your brain, watching, waiting, protecting. We've started to understand that anxiety without reason is not mysterious or random. It's the language of a body that has been holding more than it can carry, speaking in the only way it knows. And as we move forward together, chapter by chapter, breath by breath, we'll continue this journey. We'll go deeper into the brain. We'll meet the chemicals that move through your blood like invisible weather. We'll explore the nervous system that never stops listening. We'll uncover the memories your mind has forgotten, but your body still holds. But for now, let this truth settle gently into your awareness. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are simply a human being carrying the weight of an ancient survival system in a modern world that moves too fast, demands too much, and rarely slows down long enough to let you feel safe. And that's where the next part of our story begins, with the ancient alarm inside you, and why it sometimes rings when there's no fire to fight.
Chapter 2: The Ancient Alarm Inside You. Deep within your brain, an almond-shaped guardian watches everything. It never sleeps. It remembers every danger your ancestors faced, and sometimes it mistakes the present for the past. Tonight, you'll meet the part of you that's been trying to protect you all along. Imagine, for a moment, that you are walking through a forest at dusk. The light is fading. The shadows are growing longer. The air is cooling against your skin. You hear a sound, a rustling in the bushes to your left. Instantly, before you can think, before you can reason, before you can even form the thought, "What was that?" your body responds. Your heart quickens, your muscles tense, your eyes widen, pupils dilating to take in more light. Your breath becomes shallow and fast. Blood rushes away from your digestive system and floods into your limbs, preparing you to run. All of this happens in less than a second. You didn't decide to feel afraid. You didn't choose to react. Your body simply knew. And deep inside your brain, in a small structure no bigger than an almond, a decision was made on your behalf. This is the amygdala, and it has been keeping you and every human before you alive for millions of years. Let's go deeper. Let's travel together into the landscape of your own mind. Picture your brain as a layered structure, built over time, like sediment forming rock. The outermost layer, the cortex, is the newest part. This is where you think, plan, reason, imagine. This is the part of you that reads these words, that wonders about the future, that makes decisions based on logic and values. But beneath that, deeper down, are older layers, ancient layers, structures that existed long before humans learned to speak, to write, to build civilizations. And one of the oldest, most powerful structures in this ancient landscape is the amygdala. It sits deep within the temporal lobe, tucked beneath the surface, connected to nearly every other part of your brain. It receives information from your senses, sight, sound, smell, touch, before your conscious mind even registers what's happening. The amygdala is your brain's alarm system, its threat detector, its guardian. And it has one primary job: to keep you alive. Not happy, not comfortable, not relaxed. Alive. To understand the amygdala, you have to understand the world it was designed for. Your ancestors lived in an environment vastly different from yours. There were no grocery stores, no locks on doors, no emergency services. Food was uncertain. Shelter was temporary. Predators were real. Every day carried genuine risk. Every decision could mean the difference between survival and death. In that world, the brain didn't have the luxury of careful analysis. It couldn't afford to pause and think, is that rustling sound dangerous? Let me gather more data before I respond. By the time you finished thinking, you'd be dead. So evolution gave you something faster than thought, faster than reason, faster than conscious awareness. It gave you the amygdala. The amygdala processes information about potential threats in as little as 12 milliseconds, faster than the blink of an eye. It doesn't wait for your cortex to analyze the situation. It doesn't need your permission to act. It sees, it evaluates, it responds, and it always, always errs on the side of caution. Because in the calculus of survival, a false alarm is better than no alarm at all. If you mistake a stick for a snake and jump back, no harm done. You feel a little foolish, but you're alive. But if you mistake a snake for a stick
and reach out to touch it, that mistake might be your last. So your amygdala is calibrated to overreact, to see danger where there might be none, to activate your body's alarm system at the slightest hint of threat. This isn't a flaw, it's a feature. It's how your species survived. But here's the problem. Your amygdala doesn't know you live in the 21st century. It doesn't know that the rustling sound is just the wind, or the neighbor's cat, or branches scraping against the window. It doesn't distinguish between a lion in the grass and an email from your boss, between a physical predator and social rejection, between real danger and imagined catastrophe. To your amygdala, all threats are the same. All threats require the same response. Activate the alarm. And so, even though you're lying in bed, safe and warm, with no predators nearby, no immediate danger, no life or death situation unfolding, your amygdala can still send the signal. It can still flood your body with adrenaline, still tighten your chest, still speed your heart, still prepare you to fight or flee from a danger that exists only as a possibility, a worry, a thought. This is why anxiety can feel so irrational, so confusing, so frustrating. Because your thinking brain knows there's no real threat, but your feeling brain, your ancient, protective, survival-driven amygdala, doesn't trust that logic. It trusts patterns. It trusts sensations. It trusts the echoes of 1,000,000 years of evolution that whisper, better safe than sorry. Let's pause here and breathe together. In through your nose, slowly, gently. Out through your mouth, even slower. Notice your heartbeat. Feel it in your chest, steady and strong. This is your body, here, now. Not in the forest, not in danger, just breathing, just being. And somewhere deep inside, your amygdala is still watching, still listening, still doing its job. But you can speak to it, not with words, but with signals, with breath, with presence. Because the amygdala doesn't just detect threats, it also detects safety. And one of the most powerful signals you can send is a slow, deep, rhythmic breath. When you breathe this way, you're telling your amygdala, we're okay. We're not running. We're not fighting. We're safe. It might not believe you immediately. It might still be on guard just in case. But with each slow breath, the message becomes clearer. And slowly, the alarm begins to quiet. The amygdala is also deeply connected to memory. Not the memories you can recall consciously, not the stories you tell about your past, but something deeper, something older. Emotional memory. The amygdala stores the feeling of experiences even when you've forgotten the details. It remembers the time you were humiliated in front of a group, the moment you felt abandoned, the experience of being unsafe, unheard, unseen. It doesn't remember these things as narratives, it remembers them as patterns, as associations, a certain tone of voice, a particular facial expression, a specific situation that resembles, even faintly, something that hurt you before.
And when it recognizes that pattern, even if you consciously don't, it activates. It sounds the alarm. Not because something is happening now, but because something similar happened then, and last time it hurt. This is why anxiety can feel like it comes from nowhere, because the trigger isn't always in the present moment. Sometimes it's a ghost, an echo, a memory your amygdala holds that your conscious mind has long since released. So when you feel anxious for no reason, consider this. Your amygdala might be responding to something you can't see, a pattern you haven't noticed, a resemblance to something painful, something threatening, something that once made you feel unsafe. It's not imagining things. It's not overreacting. It's doing exactly what it was trained to do, recognize patterns and keep you safe. The problem is, the world has changed faster than evolution could keep up. The threats you face now are different, more abstract, more social, more psychological. But your amygdala is still using the same ancient playbook, and sometimes it misreads the script. It sees a difficult conversation and interprets it as a physical threat. It feels the uncertainty of the future and responds as if danger is imminent. It notices your own exhaustion and mistakes it for vulnerability. And where there is vulnerability, there might be predators. So it keeps you alert, vigilant, tense, not because you're broken, but because it loves you. In its primitive, wordless, instinctual way, it's trying to protect you. And here's the paradox, the beautiful, heartbreaking truth. The very system designed to keep you safe can sometimes make you feel the most unsafe. The alarm that once saved your life can now disrupt your sleep. The vigilance that kept your ancestors alive can now keep you trapped in worry. The guardian inside you, so devoted, so tireless, so unfailingly protective, can become the source of your suffering. Not because it's failing, but because it's succeeding at a job that no longer matches the world you live in. So tonight, as you rest, know this. The anxiety you feel is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of an ancient, powerful system doing what it was built to do. Your amygdala is not your enemy. It's your protector. It's been with you since birth. It's kept you safe through every challenge, every uncertainty, every moment of fear. It just needs a little help understanding that the world has changed, that not every shadow is a predator, that not every unknown is a threat, and that sometimes the safest thing you can do is breathe, soften, and let yourself rest. But the amygdala isn't the only part of this story. It doesn't work alone. It speaks to your body in a language of chemicals and signals, of racing hearts and tightening muscles. And that's where we're going next, into the conversation your brain is having with your body, in the wordless language of sensation.
Chapter 3. When your body becomes the message. Your heart races. Your breath shortens. Your stomach tightens. But nothing is wrong. Or is it? Your body is speaking in a language older than words, sending signals that bypass thought entirely. Let's translate what it's been trying to tell you. You're sitting quietly, reading perhaps, or watching something on a screen, or simply staring into the middle distance, lost in thought. And then, without warning, you notice it. Your heart is beating faster, not pounding exactly, but quicker than it should be, harder than it needs to be. You place your hand on your chest and feel it, that insistent rhythm,
like a drum playing a song you didn't ask to hear. You scan your mind for a reason. Did you just think something frightening? Did you remember something stressful? But no, your thoughts were quiet, ordinary, nothing that would explain this sudden acceleration. And yet, your body has decided otherwise. This is the moment when you realize your body is not waiting for your mind to lead. It's already speaking. It's already moving. It's already responding to something you haven't consciously registered yet. And the question becomes, what is it trying to say? Your body is an instrument of extraordinary sensitivity. Every moment it's gathering information from the world around you and the world within you. It's monitoring temperature, detecting changes in light, tracking the position of your limbs in space. It's listening to the tone of voices nearby, reading the micro-expressions on faces, sensing the tension or ease in a room. And it's doing all of this beneath the surface of your awareness. Your conscious mind can only hold so much. It can focus on one thing, maybe two, at any given moment. But your body is tracking everything. It's a vast network of sensors constantly communicating with your brain through pathways you never see, never feel, never consciously control. And when your body detects something, a shift, a pattern, a signal that resembles danger or discomfort, it doesn't wait for your permission to respond. It acts. It sends messages through your nervous system faster than thought can travel. It releases chemicals into your bloodstream. It changes your physiology in ways designed to prepare you, to protect you, to move you towards safety. This is not a malfunction. This is biology. This is the ancient intelligent system that has kept humans alive for millennia. But in the modern world, where most threats aren't physical, this system can feel confusing, overwhelming, even frightening, because your body responds to perceived threats the same way it responds to real ones. And sometimes the threat it perceives isn't out there in the world. It's inside you, in the tension you've been carrying, the exhaustion you've been ignoring, the emotions you've been pushing down. Let's talk about what happens in your body when anxiety arrives. It begins with a signal, maybe from your amygdala, that ancient alarm we met in the last chapter. Maybe from somewhere deeper, from the autonomic nervous system, that vast network that operates below consciousness, managing everything your body does automatically: breathing, digestion, heart rate, blood pressure. This system has two main branches, like two opposing forces in constant dialogue. The first is the sympathetic nervous system, your body's accelerator. This is the system that activates when danger appears. It speeds your heart. It quickens your breath. It sends blood rushing to your muscles. It sharpens your senses. It prepares you to fight or flee. The second is the parasympathetic nervous system, your body's brake. This is the system that activates when safety returns. It slows your heart. It deepens your breath. It redirects energy toward rest, digestion, healing, and repair. In a balanced, healthy nervous system, these two forces work together like a dance: activation and rest, effort and recovery, tension and release. But when you live in a state of chronic stress, when your body is constantly scanning for danger, constantly preparing for the next challenge, constantly on alert, the sympathetic system dominates. The accelerator stays pressed, the brake barely touches the ground, and your body begins to speak in louder and louder signals, trying to get your attention. Your racing heart is not random. When your sympathetic nervous system activates, it releases a hormone called adrenaline, also known as epinephrine. Adrenaline is a messenger, a chemical signal that travels through your bloodstream and tells your heart, beat faster, pump harder, send more oxygen to the muscles, we might need to run. Your heart obeys. It always does. It doesn't question the order. It doesn't pause to verify whether the threat is real. It simply responds. And so your heart races, even when you're sitting still, even when nothing external has changed, even when, logically, you know you're safe, because your body isn't operating on logic. It's operating on signals, on patterns, on ancient survival instincts that don't distinguish between running from a predator and sitting through a difficult day. Your breath shortens for the same reason. When your adrenaline floods your system, your breathing changes. It becomes faster, shallower, more urgent. Your body is trying to take in more oxygen quickly, preparing for the physical exertion it believes is coming. But here's the paradox. Shallow breathing sends a signal back to your brain that reinforces the sense of danger. Your brain monitors your breath constantly. When your breathing is slow and deep, it interprets this as a sign of safety. But when your breathing is fast and shallow, it interprets this as a sign of threat. And so a feedback loop begins. Your body tenses, so your breath shortens. Your breath shortens, so your body tenses further. The alarm grows louder. The cycle continues. This is why anxiety can escalate so quickly, because your body and brain are speaking to each other in a language of sensation, and sometimes they reinforce each other's fears. And then there's your stomach, that tight, knotted feeling that appears when anxiety arrives. This happens because your sympathetic nervous system redirects resources. When danger is near, or when your body believes danger is near, digestion becomes a low priority. Blood flow moves away from your digestive organs and towards your muscles. Your stomach slows its work. Sometimes it clenches, sometimes it churns. This is why anxiety and digestive discomfort so often go hand in hand, why you might feel nauseous when nervous, why your appetite disappears when stress arrives. Your body is saying, this is not the time to digest food. This is the time to prepare for action. But in the modern world, that action rarely comes. The threat isn't something you can fight or run from. It's a worry, a deadline, a fear of judgment or failure or loss. And so your body stays activated, waiting for a resolution that never arrives. Breathe with me now. Slowly, gently. In through your nose for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for just a moment. Out through your mouth for 6 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Feel your chest expand. Feel your belly soften. Feel the rhythm return. This is how you speak back to your body. Not with words, but with breath, with presence, with the simple act of slowing down. When you breathe slowly and deeply, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system, that brake we talked about earlier. You send a signal to your brain, we're safe. We can rest. We don't need to run. Your body listens. It might take time. It might not believe you immediately. But with each slow breath, the message becomes clearer. So when your heart races for no reason, know this. It has a reason. The reason lives in the signals your body is sending and receiving, in the constant conversation between your brain and your nervous system.
Your body isn't lying to you. It isn't broken. It's responding to something. Maybe a memory, maybe a pattern,
Maybe simply the accumulated weight of too many days spent in survival mode. It's trying to protect you. It's trying to prepare you. It's trying, in its ancient, wordless way, to keep you safe. But sometimes the message gets confused. The signal gets stuck. The alarm keeps ringing even when the danger has passed or never arrived at all. And that's when we need to go deeper, to understand not just the signals your body sends, but the invisible chemicals that carry those signals through your blood, like weather moving through the sky.
Chapter 4. The Chemistry of Invisible Weather. Inside you, molecules dance like rain. Cortisol rises like morning mist. Adrenaline sparks like distant lightning. Your anxiety isn't just a feeling, it's a storm system moving through your blood, and tonight you'll understand its patterns. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the sky before a storm. The air grows heavy, clouds gather on the horizon. The light changes, becomes dimmer, more golden, more strange. You can feel the shift in pressure against your skin, even though you can't see it. Something is coming. You know this not because you understand meteorology, but because your body reads the signs. The atmosphere is changing, and you're part of that atmosphere. This is what happens inside you when anxiety arrives. There is weather moving through your body, invisible weather, chemical weather, a storm system of molecules that shift and surge and settle, creating the sensations you feel but cannot name. Tonight, we'll learn to read those patterns, to understand that anxiety isn't just an emotion floating somewhere in your mind. It's a biological event, as real as rain, as measurable as wind. Your body is a universe of chemical conversations. Every feeling you've ever had, every moment of joy, fear, calm, or anxiety, has been accompanied by molecules moving through your bloodstream, binding to receptors, triggering responses in tissues and organs and cells. These molecules are called hormones and neurotransmitters. They are your body's messengers, carrying information from one part of you to another. And when anxiety arrives, two messengers in particular begin their work. The first is adrenaline. You've already met it briefly. It moves fast, like lightning splitting the sky. It's the spark that quickens your heart, widens your pupils, sends blood rushing to your muscles. It arrives suddenly and burns bright. The second is cortisol. It moves slowly, like fog rolling across a field. It lingers. It accumulates. It changes the landscape of your body in ways that last long after the initial alarm has passed. Together, these two molecules create the physical experience of anxiety. They are the storm, and you are the sky through which they move. Let's begin with adrenaline. When your amygdala, that ancient alarm deep in your brain, detects a threat, it sends an urgent signal down through your brainstem to your adrenal glands. These are two small pyramid-shaped organs that sit atop your kidneys, and they are the source of your body's most powerful stress hormones. Within seconds, sometimes milliseconds, your adrenal glands release adrenaline into your bloodstream. Imagine it like this: a flare shot into the sky, signaling danger. The message travels fast, reaching every corner of your body almost instantly. Your heart receives the signal and begins to beat faster. Your lungs receive it and begin to pull in more air. Your liver receives it and begins to release stored glucose into your blood, giving you quick energy. Your pupils dilate. Your skin pales as blood rushes away from the surface and toward your core and limbs. All of this happens automatically,
unconsciously. Your body is preparing for action, for fight or flight. But here's what makes modern anxiety so exhausting. The action often never comes. Your body is ready to run, but you're sitting at a desk. Ready to fight, but the threat is abstract, a deadline, a fear, a worry about something that hasn't happened yet. And so the adrenaline surges, the lightning strikes, but there's nowhere for the energy to go. It simply crackles through you, leaving you feeling wired, tense, restless. Over time, if this happens repeatedly, your body begins to anticipate the surge. It starts releasing adrenaline at smaller and smaller triggers, like a smoke alarm that goes off when you burn toast. This is called sensitization, and it's one reason why anxiety can feel like it's getting worse over time, even when nothing in your external life has changed. Now let's talk about cortisol, the fog that lingers after the lightning has passed. Cortisol is often called the stress hormone, but that name doesn't quite capture what it does. Cortisol isn't inherently bad. In fact, you need it to survive. Every morning, cortisol rises naturally as part of your body's wake-up process. It gives you energy. It helps you focus. It prepares you to meet the day. But when stress becomes chronic, when your body perceives threat after threat, day after day, without sufficient rest or recovery, cortisol levels stay elevated far longer than they should be. And when cortisol lingers, it changes things. It affects your sleep, making it harder to fall into deep rest. It affects your digestion, slowing the processes that keep your gut healthy. It affects your immune system, making you more vulnerable to illness. It affects your memory and concentration, creating that foggy, disconnected feeling where thoughts slip away before you can hold them. Cortisol also communicates with your amygdala, making it more sensitive to threats. It's as if the alarm system itself becomes louder, more reactive, more easily triggered. This creates a cycle. Stress raises cortisol. Cortisol makes you more sensitive to stress. More sensitivity creates more stress, and the fog thickens. But here's something important to understand. Cortisol isn't your enemy. It's trying to help you. It's designed to give you sustained energy during challenging times, to keep you alert when danger persists, to help you adapt to difficult circumstances. The problem isn't cortisol itself. The problem is that modern life keeps your cortisol elevated for far too long. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and your body never fully comes down from the heightened state. It's like living in a permanent state of almost storm. The sky never fully clears, the pressure never fully releases. You're always waiting for lightning that never quite strikes, or for rain that never quite falls. And so you exist in that strange, exhausting space between calm and crisis, not quite panicking, but never quite at peace. There's another layer to this chemical story, another molecule that plays a quieter but equally important role. It's called GABA, which stands for gamma-aminobutyric acid. You don't need to remember the name. You only need to know what it does. GABA is the brake pedal of your brain. It's the neurotransmitter that slows things down, that calms the electrical activity in your nervous system, that tells your neurons, it's okay, you can rest now. When GABA levels are healthy and balanced, you feel calm, grounded, able to let thoughts pass without getting caught in them. But when stress is chronic, when cortisol stays high, GABA production can drop. The brake pedal becomes less responsive. And suddenly, even small stressors feel overwhelming because your brain has lost some of its natural ability to downregulate, to soften, to return to baseline. This is why anxiety can feel so relentless, because the very chemicals that help you calm down become depleted by the very stress that makes you need them most. Breathe with me now. Let's slow the weather inside you. In through your nose, feel the cool air enter. Out through your mouth, feel the warmth leave. With each breath, you're sending a signal to your body. You're telling your adrenal glands, we don't need more adrenaline right now. You're telling your brain, we can release a little GABA. We can soften. We can rest. It won't happen immediately. The fog doesn't clear in an instant. The storm doesn't stop with one breath. But with patience, with practice, with repetition, your body begins to learn. It begins to remember what safety feels like, what rest feels like, what it means to exist without the constant hum of vigilance. So when you feel anxious for no reason, remember this: there is chemistry at work. Molecules are moving through you like weather systems.
Adrenaline is sparking. Cortisol is lingering. GABA is working to restore balance, though sometimes it struggles to keep up. You are not imagining your anxiety. You are not weak or broken or overreacting. You are a biological being, experiencing a biological response, shaped by millions of years of evolution, meeting the demands of a world that moves too fast, asks too much, and rarely pauses long enough to let the storm pass. But storms do pass. Weather changes. And just as you can learn to read the patterns of clouds and wind, you can learn to read the patterns of your own internal weather. And sometimes, understanding the chemistry is the first step toward changing it, not by force, but by learning what your body has been holding and why it hasn't yet felt safe enough to let go.
Chapter 5. The Memory Your Mind Forgot. Sometimes, anxiety arrives without a story. No trigger, no reason. But your body remembers what your conscious mind has forgotten. In the shadows of your nervous system, old experiences leave traces, and they speak when you least expect them. You're walking down a street you've never been on before. The day is ordinary. The weather is mild. Nothing unusual is happening. And yet, suddenly, inexplicably, you feel uneasy. Your chest tightens. Your pace quickens. You glance over your shoulder, though you don't know what you're looking for. Later, you'll wonder, why did I feel that way? Nothing happened. Nothing was wrong. But here's what you don't realize. Something did happen, just not today. Your body recognized something your mind couldn't name. A scent in the air. The angle of the light, the sound of footsteps behind you. Something that resembled, however faintly, a moment from long ago when you didn't feel safe. And your body, faithful guardian that it is, remembered. There are two kinds of memory living inside you. The first kind you know well, explicit memory. These are the memories you can recall consciously, the stories you tell, the faces you recognize, the events you can describe in words. When you remember your first day of school, or what you ate for breakfast yesterday, or the conversation you had last week, that's explicit memory. It lives in a part of your brain called the hippocampus, which organizes experiences into narratives, into timelines, into stories that make sense. But there's another kind of memory, older, deeper,
more difficult to access. It's called implicit memory, and it lives in your body as much as it lives in your brain. Implicit memory doesn't store stories. It stores sensations, emotions, patterns, responses. It's the memory that makes you flinch when someone raises their voice suddenly, even if they're not angry. The memory that makes your stomach drop when you walk into a room that feels too quiet, too tense, too much like somewhere you once felt small. It's the memory that knows a certain smell means danger, even though you can't remember why. The memory that recognizes a tone of voice, a facial expression, a feeling in the air, and responds before you can think.
This is the memory your mind forgot, but your body never did. Let's go back to that street, the one where you felt uneasy for no reason. Perhaps years ago, maybe even decades, something happened in a place that felt similar. Maybe it was the same time of day, the same quality of light, the same echo of footsteps on pavement. Maybe someone followed you once, or maybe you simply felt alone and vulnerable in a moment when you needed to feel safe. Your explicit memory might not hold this story anymore. The details may have faded. The event might seem too small, too distant, too insignificant to matter now. But your implicit memory, your body's memory, holds it still. Not as a narrative, not as something you can describe, but as a felt sense, a pattern, an association. And when the present moment echoes that old pattern, your body responds. Not because something is happening now, but because something happened then. This is one of the most misunderstood aspects of anxiety. It can be a response to a memory you don't consciously remember. Your amygdala, that ancient alarm we've come to know, is intimately connected to implicit memory. It stores emotional memories separately from the stories your hippocampus keeps. This is why trauma can affect you long after the event has passed. Why a song, a smell, a season can trigger feelings that seem to come from nowhere. Why your body can react to something your mind insists isn't a problem. Because to your body, it is a problem, or at least it once was. And your body doesn't trust that the danger has passed. It only knows that this moment feels like that moment, and last time, you weren't safe. Implicit memory also forms during times when your brain wasn't fully developed yet. Think back to childhood, before you could speak, before you could reason, before you could understand the world in words. Even then, your nervous system was learning. It was absorbing patterns, storing information about what felt safe and what didn't, what brought comfort and what brought fear. A baby whose cries are consistently met with warmth and presence learns on a deep, pre-verbal level, the world responds to me. I am safe. But a baby whose cries go unanswered, not out of cruelty, but perhaps from a parent's own overwhelm, exhaustion, or absence, learns something different. I am alone. No one is coming. I must stay vigilant. This isn't a thought. It's not a belief you can argue with. It's a pattern encoded in the nervous system, beneath language, beneath logic. And that pattern can stay with you for years, decades, a lifetime, shaping how you respond to stress, to uncertainty, to moments when you need help but feel afraid to ask. Here's the tender truth. Your anxiety might not be about now. It might be about then. It might be your body still protecting the younger version of you who once felt unsafe, who once felt alone, who once needed something they didn't receive. And even though you're grown now, even though the circumstances have changed, even though you've survived and adapted and moved forward, your body still holds that memory. It doesn't do this to hurt you. It does this to protect you. Because to your nervous system, the past isn't fully past. It's a library of patterns, of warnings, of lessons learned the hard way. And when something in the present resembles something from that library, your body pulls the alarm, just in case, just to be safe. Breathe with me now. Gently, slowly. In through your nose, let the breath fill you. Out through your mouth, let it carry away what you no longer need to hold. As you breathe, imagine speaking to the part of you that's still vigilant, still guarding, still remembering. You might say quietly inside yourself, "Thank you for protecting me. Thank you for remembering when I couldn't. But I'm safe now. We're safe now." It might not believe you right away. It might take many breaths, many reminders, many moments of reassurance. But slowly, with patience, with gentleness, the body begins to learn the past is not the present. What happened then is not happening now. So when anxiety arrives without a story, without a clear reason, without something you can point to and say, "That's why I feel this way," consider this possibility. Your body is speaking a memory your mind has forgotten. It's responding to a pattern, an echo, a resemblance to something that once mattered deeply. This doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're human. It means your nervous system is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Remember what hurt so it can help you avoid being hurt again. But sometimes, in trying to protect you, it keeps you locked in a state of vigilance that no longer serves you. And that's when the question becomes, how do we help the body feel safe enough to let go? How do we break the loop that keeps replaying, keeps responding, keeps holding on? The answer begins with understanding that anxiety isn't just about your thoughts. It's about the cycle your nervous system has learned and how that cycle feeds itself over and over until it feels impossible to stop.
Chapter 6. The Loop That Feeds Itself. A thought creates a feeling. The feeling creates a thought. Round and round they go, building momentum like a wheel turning faster and faster. Tonight, we'll watch this loop together, not to stop it, but to understand how it begins. Picture a wheel beginning to turn. At first, it moves slowly. You can see each rotation clearly. You could reach out and stop it if you wanted to. But with each turn, it gains a little momentum, a little speed. And soon it's spinning so fast that you can't see the individual rotations anymore. It becomes a blur, a force, something that feels impossible to slow down, let alone stop. This is what happens inside you when anxiety takes hold. It starts with something small, a thought, a sensation, a fleeting moment of discomfort. And then, before you realize what's happening, that small thing creates another thing, which creates another, which creates another, until you're caught in a loop that feels endless, unstoppable, overwhelming. Tonight, we're going to slow that wheel down. We're going to watch together how the loop begins, how it builds, and why it feels so difficult to break. Not so you can fight it, but so you can understand it, because understanding is the first step toward freedom. The loop begins with a sensation. Maybe it's a flutter in your chest, a tightness in your throat, a subtle shift in your breathing that you barely notice at first. Your body is speaking, the way we've explored in earlier chapters. It's responding to something, a memory, a pattern, a signal from your nervous system. And then your mind notices it. Your conscious awareness picks up on that sensation and immediately does what minds do. It tries to make sense of it. It tries to find a reason, an explanation, a story. Why is my heart beating faster? What's wrong? Am I in danger? This is where the first thought enters. Not a deliberate thought, not something you choose, but an automatic one, a reflex. Your mind scans for threats. It searches for problems, because that's what minds are designed to do, to identify danger, to solve problems, to keep you safe. And often, especially if you've been anxious before, your mind finds something or creates something. Maybe I'm having a heart attack. Maybe something terrible is about to happen. Maybe I'm losing control. Now here's where the loop truly begins. That thought, maybe something is wrong, creates a new feeling. Fear, worry, more tension. And that feeling, in turn, creates more physical sensations. Your heart beats even faster. Your breath becomes more shallow. Your muscles tighten further. Your body is responding to your thought the same way it would respond to a real threat, because to your nervous system, the thought feels real. The danger your mind imagined becomes, in that moment, as activating as actual danger. And now your mind notices these new sensations, the faster heartbeat, the shorter breath, the rising tension. And it thinks, see, something really is wrong. I was right to worry. A thought creates a feeling. The feeling creates a thought. And the wheel begins to turn. This is called an anxiety feedback loop, and it's one of the most common patterns in how anxiety sustains itself. It works because your mind and body are in constant conversation. They're always listening to each other, always responding to each other, always influencing each other. When this conversation is balanced and healthy, it helps you navigate the world. Your body sends signals. Your mind interprets them. Together, they guide you toward safety and away from harm. But when anxiety enters the conversation, the signals get misinterpreted. Your body's normal stress response is read as evidence of danger, and your mind's attempt to make sense of that response only amplifies it. It's like two people in a dark room, each hearing the other's footsteps and becoming more frightened because they think someone else is there. The fear creates the very thing they're afraid of, more fear. Let's look more closely at how thoughts shape physical sensations. There's a famous study in psychology where researchers had people simply think about giving a public speech. They didn't actually have to speak. They just had to imagine it. And yet within moments, their bodies responded. Heart rates increased. Cortisol levels rose. Palms began to sweat. The thought alone, the mental image of a potentially stressful situation, was enough to activate the sympathetic nervous system, to trigger the same physiological response as if the threat were real. This reveals something profound. Your body cannot always tell the difference between a real threat and an imagined one. When you think, what if I fail? What if they judge me? What if something terrible happens? Your body responds as if those things are already happening. Not because you're weak or irrational, but because that's how the system works. Thoughts trigger emotions. Emotions trigger physical responses. Physical responses trigger more thoughts. Round and round, faster and faster.
There is another layer to this loop that makes it even more persistent: attention. When you're anxious, your attention narrows. It becomes focused on threat, on danger, on everything that might go wrong. This is called attentional bias, and it's an evolutionary feature, not a flaw. If there's a predator nearby, you don't want to be noticing the beautiful sunset. You want to be scanning for danger. Your attention needs to prioritize survival. But in modern life, where most threats are abstract and psychological, rather than physical and immediate, this narrowed attention becomes a problem. You start noticing every uncomfortable sensation in your body, every racing thought, every worst-case scenario. And the more you notice these things, the more real they feel, the more significant they seem, the more evidence your mind collects that yes, something is definitely wrong. Meanwhile, all the things that contradict this narrative, the moments of calm, the evidence of safety, the times when nothing bad happened, fade into the background. You stop noticing them. This is the confirmation bias of anxiety. You see what you're looking for, and what you're looking for is danger. The loop also has a memory component. Each time you experience this cycle, sensation triggers thought, thought triggers sensation, your brain strengthens the pathway between them. It's like walking the same route through a field every day. Eventually, a path forms. The grass wears down. The route becomes automatic. In neuroscience, this is described by the phrase, neurons that fire together, wire together. The more often your brain connects the sensation of a racing heart with the thought, something is wrong, the more automatic that connection becomes. Until eventually, the loop doesn't need much to start spinning. The slightest sensation can set it in motion. A single worried thought can activate the entire cascade. This is why anxiety can feel like it's getting worse over time, even when you're trying to manage it. Because every time the loop runs, it becomes a little more efficient, a little more automatic, a little harder to interrupt. Breathe with me now. Let's slow the wheel together. In through your nose, gently, deeply. Out through your mouth, slowly, completely. Notice that with each breath, you're creating space, a small pause, a moment between the thought and the feeling, between the sensation and the story. This is where change begins, not by stopping the loop entirely. That's often too much to ask in the beginning, but by noticing it, by watching it, by understanding that it's a pattern, not the truth. The thought is not a fact. The sensation is not evidence. The loop is not who you are. It's simply a wheel that's been spinning for a long time, and wheels can slow down. Patterns can shift. Pathways can be rewritten. So when you find yourself caught in the loop, when one anxious thought leads to another, and the wheel spins faster and faster, remember this: you're not broken. You're experiencing a feedback cycle that your brain has learned through repetition. A pattern that once served a purpose, but now runs too often, too easily, too loud. And just as your brain learned this pattern, it can learn new ones. It can learn to pause, to question, to observe without immediately reacting. But first, you need to understand why this loop is so hard to escape on your own, why your brain keeps predicting danger, keeps scanning for threats, keeps preparing for storms that never arrive. And that brings us to the next truth we must explore together. the way your mind tries to protect you by always guessing what comes next, and why those guesses so often go wrong.
Chapter 7. Your brain's prediction machine. Your mind is always guessing what comes next. It scans for danger in every shadow, every pause, every silence. Sometimes it predicts storms that never arrive. This is not weakness. This is how you've survived. But let's look at why the predictions sometimes go wrong. Imagine you're walking through your home in the dark. You know this space. You've walked it 1,000 times. And yet, even without seeing clearly, you navigate it. You know where the furniture sits, where the walls turn, where the floor changes beneath your feet. You're not bumping into things, you're not reaching blindly, you're moving with a kind of quiet certainty. This is because your brain isn't simply reacting to what you see in the moment. It's predicting what comes next based on what it already knows. And this constant, invisible prediction is one of the most powerful things your brain does. Every moment of your life, your brain is making guesses about what will happen next, about what sounds mean, about whether you're safe or in danger, about what the world will ask of you in the next second, the next minute, the next hour. Most of the time, these predictions are so accurate you don't even notice them. You catch a ball before it hits the ground. You finish someone's sentence. You sense a shift in mood before a word is spoken. But sometimes your brain predicts wrong. And when it predicts danger that isn't there, anxiety is born. Your brain is not designed to passively receive information. It's designed to actively interpret it. Neuroscientists describe the brain as a prediction machine, constantly generating models of the world based on past experience, and then comparing those predictions to what's actually happening. When the prediction matches reality, everything feels smooth, familiar, safe. But when there's a mismatch, when something unexpected happens, or when your brain predicts danger, but the world says you're safe, you feel discomfort, confusion, unease. This prediction process happens mostly outside your awareness. It's fast, automatic, and deeply influenced by memory. If you've been hurt before, your brain predicts hurt again. If you've felt rejected, it predicts rejection. If you've experienced loss, it predicts loss. Not because it's pessimistic, but because it's trying to protect you, to prepare you, to keep you one step ahead of danger. The problem is, in trying to keep you safe, your brain sometimes sees threats that don't exist. It predicts storms on clear days. It reads neutral faces as angry. It hears judgment in innocent questions. And each time it does this, it reinforces the very pattern that keeps you anxious. Let's explore how this works in real time. You send a message to a friend, a simple message, nothing wrong with it, but hours pass and they don't respond. Immediately, your brain begins to predict, to fill in the silence with meaning. Maybe they're angry with me. Maybe I said something wrong. Maybe they're avoiding me. These thoughts don't feel like guesses. They feel like facts, because your brain is so convinced by its own predictions that it experiences them as truth. And once the prediction is made, your body responds. Your heart rate increases slightly, your stomach tightens, you feel a vague sense of dread. Now you're scanning back through the conversation, searching for evidence, looking for the mistake you might have made, the thing you said that could have been misunderstood. And the more you search, the more you find, or think you find. Because when your brain has already decided there's a problem, it becomes very good at confirming that belief. This is called predictive coding in neuroscience. Your brain fills in gaps with expectations. It doesn't wait for complete information. It guesses based on patterns from the past.
And if your past has taught you that silence means rejection, that pauses mean danger, that uncertainty means something bad is coming, your brain will predict accordingly. Here's the paradox. Your brain's predictions shape your reality. When you predict that someone is upset with you, you might become anxious. That anxiety might change how you interact with them. Maybe you become withdrawn, defensive, overly apologetic. And that change in your behavior might actually create distance between you, confirming the very fear you started with. Your prediction becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, not because you were right, but because the prediction itself influenced the outcome. This happens all the time with anxiety. You predict you'll be judged, so you hold back. You predict you'll fail, so you don't try fully. You predict rejection, so you protect yourself by pulling away first. And then when those things happen, when people don't connect with you, when you don't succeed, when relationships feel distant, your brain says, "See, I knew it. My prediction was correct." But it wasn't a prediction. It was a creation. Your brain also has what's called a negativity bias. This means it pays more attention to negative information than positive information. An evolutionary psychologist might tell you this makes sense. In the ancestral environment, missing a positive opportunity, like a patch of ripe berries, was unfortunate, but missing a threat, like a predator in the shadows, was fatal. So your brain evolved to prioritize noticing, remembering, and predicting threats, to give more weight to what could go wrong than to what could go right. This is why one critical comment can ruin a day filled with compliments, why one rejection can overshadow 10 acceptances, why one bad experience can make you hesitant for years. Your brain isn't being dramatic, it's being cautious. It's saying, remember this, learn from this, don't let it happen again. But in the modern world, this bias can trap you in a cycle of negative predictions. You expect the worst because your brain is wired to prepare for it. And the more you expect it, the more you see it, even when it's not really there.
Breathe with me for a moment. Let's soften the edges of these predictions. In through your nose. Feel the breath fill your lungs. Out through your mouth. Let the tension release. Notice this. Right now, in this moment, you are safe. The predictions your brain is making about tomorrow, next week, next year, they are not happening now. They are stories, possibilities, guesses based on a past that is no longer present. And while your brain means well, while it's trying to protect you, it cannot see the future. It can only imagine it. And imagination, especially when fueled by anxiety, tends to bend toward fear. So when your mind tells you something bad is coming, when it predicts judgment, failure, loss, rejection, pause. Ask yourself, is this happening right now? Or is this a prediction my brain is making? Not to dismiss the fear, not to pretend it isn't real, but to create a small space between the prediction and the truth. Because predictions are not facts, they are interpretations, and interpretations can change. Your brain has spent years, maybe decades, learning to predict danger, learning to scan for threats, learning to prepare for the worst. And that learning was useful once. It kept you safe. It helped you survive difficult times. But now, perhaps, it's time to teach your brain something new, to show it that not every silence means rejection, not every uncertainty means danger, not every unknown outcome means disaster. This doesn't happen overnight. The prediction machine doesn't stop running, but with patience, with awareness, with gentle repetition,
you can begin to shift what it predicts. You can teach it to see possibility alongside threat, to hold hope alongside fear, to recognize that the future is open, unwritten, full of outcomes your anxious mind hasn't imagined yet. But changing predictions isn't just about thoughts. It's about the deeper system running beneath them, the nervous system that never stops listening, never stops monitoring, never stops trying to answer the question, am I safe? And that's where we turn next, to the vast, tireless network inside you that shapes every prediction, every sensation, every moment of calm or chaos you've ever known.
Chapter 8. The Nervous System That Never Stops Listening. Beneath your awareness, a vast network monitors everything: the temperature of the room, the rhythm of your breath, the tension in your jaw. It's trying to keep you safe, but sometimes it becomes too sensitive, too vigilant. Let's meet this tireless guardian. Close your eyes for a moment and notice what you notice. Perhaps you feel the weight of your body against the surface beneath you. Perhaps you hear a sound in the distance, a hum, a voice, the wind against a window. Perhaps you sense the temperature of the air on your skin. These are the things your conscious mind can detect when you pay attention. But beneath this awareness, far below the surface of what you can deliberately notice, there is another kind of noticing happening. Constant, automatic, tireless. Your nervous system is listening to everything. The tension in your shoulders, the rhythm of your heartbeat, the slight shift in your posture, the faint rumble of your digestion, the dilation of your pupils, the moisture in your mouth, the temperature of your hands. It monitors the external world too. Sounds too quiet for you to consciously hear, movements at the edge of your vision, subtle changes in light and shadow. And it does all of this without you having to think about it, without you even knowing it's happening. This is your autonomic nervous system, the vast, invisible network that runs your body's automatic functions. The system that keeps you alive without requiring your attention or permission. And tonight, we're going to understand why this system, so essential, so protective, can sometimes become the source of anxiety that feels impossible to calm. The word autonomic means self-governing, automatic. This system controls everything you don't have to consciously manage. Your heart rate, your breathing, your digestion, your immune response, your hormonal balance, your blood pressure. It's always working, always adjusting, always trying to keep your body in a state of balance, a state called homeostasis, the internal equilibrium that allows you to function, to survive, to thrive. But the autonomic nervous system does more than just maintain your body's physical balance. It also monitors your environment, constantly scanning for cues of safety or danger. And here's what makes it so powerful, and sometimes so problematic. It responds faster than your conscious mind can process. Before you even realize something has changed, your autonomic nervous system has already begun responding. It's already adjusting your heart rate, shifting your blood flow, releasing hormones, preparing your body for whatever it believes is coming next. This is survival intelligence. This is the system that has kept humans alive for millennia. But in the modern world, this system can become overactive, too sensitive, too quick to perceive threat where there is none. Let's explore the two branches of this system, the two forces that work in constant dialogue, shaping how you feel in every moment. The first branch is the sympathetic nervous system. This is the accelerator, the activator, the part of your nervous system that responds to perceived danger. When the sympathetic system engages, it mobilizes your body for action. It increases your heart rate. It redirects blood flow from digestion to your muscles. It releases adrenaline. It sharpens your focus. It prepares you to fight, to flee, to defend yourself. This is not anxiety. This is survival. This is your body saying, something might be wrong. We need to be ready. The second branch is the parasympathetic nervous system. This is the brake, the calming force, the part of your nervous system that activates when safety returns. When the parasympathetic system is engaged, your heart slows, your breathing deepens, your digestion resumes, your muscles soften. Your body shifts into a state of rest, repair, and recovery. This is the state you're meant to live in most of the time, not shut down or collapsed, but calm alertness, relaxed readiness, a sense of safety in your body. In a healthy, balanced nervous system, these two branches work together like a dance. Activation when needed, rest when safe, back and forth, responding to the demands of each moment. But when you've experienced chronic stress, trauma, or prolonged periods of uncertainty, this balance can shift. The sympathetic system stays activated too long, too often, too easily. The parasympathetic system struggles to engage. The brake becomes weak, the accelerator becomes stuck. And you begin to live in a state of perpetual vigilance, where even small stressors feel overwhelming, where rest feels impossible, where your body never fully believes it's safe. There's another layer to this system that's essential to understand. It's a relatively recent discovery in neuroscience, and it changes how we think about anxiety, trauma, and the nervous system's role in both. It's called the polyvagal theory, and it was developed by a researcher named Stephen Porges. The theory centers on a nerve, the vagus nerve, which is the longest nerve in your autonomic nervous system. It travels from your brainstem down through your body, connecting to your heart, your lungs, your digestive system, and many other organs. The vagus nerve is like a highway of communication between your brain and your body. It sends signals in both directions, from your brain to your organs, and from your organs back to your brain. And according to polyvagal theory, the vagus nerve has two distinct pathways that respond to different kinds of situations. The first pathway is called the ventral vagal pathway. This is the pathway of safety and social connection. When this pathway is active, you feel calm, open, curious. You can connect with others. You can think clearly. You can rest without hypervigilance. This is the state where healing happens, where creativity flows, where relationships deepen. But when your nervous system detects danger or even just uncertainty, it can shift into a different state. If the threat feels manageable, your sympathetic system activates. You become alert, energized, ready to respond. This is the fight or flight state we've already discussed. But if the threat feels overwhelming, if it seems too big to fight or escape from, your nervous system can shift into a third state, governed by a different branch of the vagus nerve. This is the state of shutdown, collapse, disconnection.
It's what happens when fighting won't work and fleeing isn't possible. Your body essentially says, if I can't escape the danger, maybe I can disappear into myself. You might feel numb, foggy, disconnected from your emotions, from your body, from the world around you. This is not weakness. This is an ancient survival response, the last line of defense when all other options have failed. Here's what this means for anxiety. When you feel anxious,
Your nervous system is not necessarily stuck in fight or flight. Sometimes it's oscillating between states, between hyperarousal and shutdown, between too much activation and too little. You might feel wired and exhausted at the same time, alert but foggy, restless but frozen. This is your nervous system struggling to find balance, trying to protect you but unsure how, scanning for safety but unable to recognize it when it arrives. And the more time you spend in these dysregulated states, whether it's chronic activation or frequent shutdown, the more sensitive your nervous system becomes. It's like a smoke alarm that's been triggered too many times. It starts going off at smaller and smaller amounts of smoke. Eventually, it goes off when you're just making toast. Your nervous system begins to interpret neutral situations as threatening, ambiguous social cues as rejection, normal physical sensations as signs of danger. Not because you're overreacting, but because your system has been trained through experience to expect threat, to stay ready, to never fully let its guard down. Breathe with me now, slowly, gently, in through your nose, deep into your belly, out through your mouth, longer than the inhale. As you breathe, you're sending a message to your vagus nerve. You're activating the ventral vagal pathway, the pathway of safety and calm. Your breath is one of the few autonomic functions you can consciously control. And when you slow it down, when you deepen it, you're telling your nervous system, we're okay. We don't need to run. We don't need to fight. We can rest here. It might not work immediately. Your nervous system might not believe you at first. It's been on guard for a long time, and trust takes time to rebuild. But with each slow breath, the message becomes clearer. And slowly, gradually, your body begins to remember what safety feels like. So when anxiety arrives without warning, without clear reason, consider this. Your nervous system is responding to something it has detected, a cue, a pattern, a resemblance to past danger that your conscious mind hasn't noticed yet. It's not imagining things. It's not malfunctioning. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do. Monitor your internal and external world for signs of threat and prepare you to respond. The challenge is that it's been doing this job for so long, with so much diligence, with so little rest, that it's become hypersensitive, overprotective, unable to distinguish between real danger and perceived danger. And here's the tender truth. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference between being unsafe and feeling unsafe. If you've spent years or even just months in an environment where you couldn't fully relax, where you had to stay alert, had to monitor others' moods, had to be ready for unpredictability, your nervous system learned to stay vigilant. And even when the circumstances change, even when you're finally in a safe place, your nervous system might still be operating from that old playbook, still listening for danger, still waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's not punishing you. It's protecting the version of you that once needed that protection. It just hasn't learned yet that the world has changed, or that perhaps, just perhaps, you're finally somewhere safe enough to rest.
Chapter 9. When Safety Feels Like a Stranger.
You're home. You're safe. But your body doesn't believe it. The threat detection system inside you is stuck in on, and the world feels dangerous even when it's not. Tonight we'll explore why safety can be so hard to feel, even when it's all around you. You're sitting in your own space, your own home. The doors are locked, the lights are soft, the world outside is quiet. By every logical measure, you are safe. And yet, your body hums with tension. Your mind scans for problems. Your breath stays shallow. Your shoulders stay tight. You tell yourself, I'm fine. Nothing is wrong. I should relax. But you can't. And you don't understand why. This is one of the most confusing experiences of chronic anxiety. Being objectively safe, but subjectively unable to feel it. Your mind knows the truth, but your body hasn't received the message. Or perhaps it has, but it doesn't trust the message. It doesn't believe that safety will last. Tonight we'll explore why this happens. Why safety, something so simple, so essential, can feel like a stranger in your own life. Safety is not just the absence of danger. It's a felt sense, a state your nervous system recognizes and settles into. When you feel safe, your body softens, your breath deepens, your heart rate slows, your digestion works smoothly, your immune system functions well. You can rest without hypervigilance. You can connect with others without constant guardedness. This is what psychologists call neuroception, a term coined by Stephen Porges, the researcher behind polyvagal theory. Neuroception is different from perception. Perception is conscious. It's what you see, hear, and think about. Neuroception is unconscious. It's what your nervous system detects beneath your awareness. Your nervous system is constantly asking, am I safe right now? Is this person safe? Is this environment safe? And it answers these questions not through logic, but through cues, subtle signals that your body reads faster than your mind can process. A tone of voice, a facial expression, the posture of someone nearby, the energy in a room, the predictability of your environment, the consistency of care you receive. When these cues suggest safety, your nervous system relaxes. When they suggest threat, or even just unpredictability, your nervous system activates. And here's the challenge. If you've spent a long time in environments where safety was inconsistent or absent, your nervous system learns to expect danger. It becomes calibrated to threat, tuned to vigilance. And even when the external circumstances change, even when you're finally somewhere genuinely safe, your internal alarm system might still be running as if danger is near. Let's talk about what shapes your nervous system's sense of safety. It begins in childhood. In the earliest years of life, before you have language, before you have conscious memory, your nervous system is learning what the world is like. If your needs are met consistently, if you cry and someone comes, if you're hungry and you're fed, if you're frightened and you're comforted, your nervous system learns the world is responsive. People are trustworthy. I am safe. But if your needs go unmet, if care is inconsistent, if love is conditional,
If the people around you are unpredictable or unsafe, your nervous system learns something different. The world is unreliable. I must stay alert. Safety is temporary, if it exists at all. This is not a conscious belief. It's a physiological pattern, a baseline state your nervous system defaults to. And this pattern stays with you. It shapes how you respond to stress as an adult, how easily you relax, how quickly you trust, how deeply you can rest. This doesn't mean you're broken. It means your nervous system adapted to the environment you grew up in. It learned to survive, and survival often requires vigilance, not relaxation. Even if your childhood was relatively safe, other experiences can shift your nervous system's baseline. Trauma, chronic stress, loss, betrayal, prolonged illness, living in an environment where you had to monitor others' moods constantly, relationships where love felt conditional or where you had to earn safety through performance. Any experience that taught you the world is unpredictable, that people might hurt you, that you must stay alert to avoid harm, these experiences recalibrate your nervous system. And once recalibrated, it doesn't easily reset. Even when the threat is gone, your body might still be waiting for it to return. This is why you can be sitting in a peaceful room and still feel anxious, why you can be with people who love you and still feel guarded, why you can achieve safety in your external life but struggle to feel it internally. Because safety isn't just about what's happening around you. It's about what your nervous system has learned to expect. And if it expects danger, it will keep searching for it, keep preparing for it, keep staying ready just in case.
There's another reason safety can feel so elusive. The absence of threat is not the same as the presence of safety. Imagine a child alone in a quiet room. There's no danger. No one is hurting them, but there's also no one there to comfort them, to see them, to respond to their needs. That child is not in danger, but they're also not safe, not in the way their nervous system needs to feel safe. True safety requires more than just the absence of harm. It requires connection, attunement, the felt sense that you're not alone, that someone sees you, that your existence matters. This is why isolation can trigger anxiety even when there's no external threat, why loneliness can feel dangerous to your nervous system, why you might feel most anxious not in chaotic moments, but in quiet, empty ones. Because your nervous system is wired for connection. It's wired to feel safe in the presence of others who are calm, present, and attuned. And when that presence is missing, even if everything else in your life is stable, safety can still feel out of reach. Here's the paradox. Sometimes your nervous system is so used to danger that safety actually feels threatening. If you've spent years, maybe your whole life, in a state of hypervigilance, always scanning, always preparing, always waiting for something to go wrong, then relaxation can feel disorienting, vulnerable, even dangerous. When you finally have space to rest, your nervous system might panic. It might think, if I let my guard down, something bad will happen. If I stop watching, I'll miss the danger. So it keeps you alert, keeps you tense, keeps you vigilant, not because there's danger, but because stillness feels unfamiliar, unsafe. This is why some people feel most anxious on vacation or on weekends or in moments that should be peaceful, because their nervous system has learned that danger comes when you least expect it, that bad things happen when you're not prepared. And so it refuses to let you rest. It insists on staying ready, because to your body, vigilance feels safer than vulnerability. Breathe with me now, gently, without force. In through your nose, let the breath be soft. Out through your mouth, let the exhale be slow. As you breathe, notice if there's tension anywhere in your body, maybe in your jaw, your shoulders, your belly. You don't need to fix it. You don't need to force it to release. Just notice it. Acknowledge it. Thank it even. That tension is your body's way of trying to protect you. It's holding on because it doesn't yet believe it can let go. And that's okay. You don't have to convince it. You don't have to force safety into a body that has learned to expect danger. You only need to offer it, gently, repeatedly, patiently, like you might offer food to a frightened animal, not demanding it be taken, just leaving it there, letting your body know it's here if you're ready. No pressure, no rush. So when you're home, when you're objectively safe, but your body still feels tense, still feels alert, still feels like something is wrong, know this. Your body isn't lying. It's not overreacting. It's simply responding to a pattern it has learned over time, a pattern that once protected you, a pattern that hasn't yet updated to match your current reality. Safety for you might not be a place you arrive at. It might be a practice, a slow, patient process of teaching your nervous system, one breath at a time, one moment at a time, that it's okay to soften, that rest is possible, that you don't have to stay ready anymore. This doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen through willpower or logic or telling yourself to just relax. It happens through experience, through accumulating moments where you rest and nothing bad happens, where you let your guard down and the world doesn't punish you for it, where you allow yourself to be seen and you're met with kindness instead of judgment. But before we can talk about how to create those moments, we need to understand one more thing: the invisible weight you've been carrying, the exhaustion that comes not from doing too much, but from simply being human in a world that moves too fast, demands too much, and rarely slows down long enough to let you catch your breath. Chapter 10. The Invisible Weight of Being Human. You carry more than you realize. The pace of modern life, the constant connection, the endless information. Your brain wasn't built for this world. And sometimes anxiety is simply the sound of a nervous system overwhelmed by too much, too fast, too always. Imagine carrying a backpack. At first, it feels light, manageable. You barely notice the weight. But then, someone adds a stone, then another, then another. Each one small enough that you tell yourself it's fine. You can handle it. It's not that heavy. But over time, the weight accumulates. And one day, you realize you can barely stand. Your shoulders ache. Your back strains. You're exhausted, but you don't know why. After all, each individual stone wasn't that heavy. This is what modern life does to your nervous system. It adds weight slowly, incrementally, so gradually that you don't notice until you're already overwhelmed. And then anxiety arrives, not because something specific went wrong, but because you've been carrying too much for too long. Your brain is an ancient instrument living in a modern world. The basic architecture of your nervous system, the amygdala, the stress response, the survival instincts, evolved over millions of years in environments vastly different from the one you live in now. Your ancestors lived in small groups.
They moved slowly. They had time to rest. Their threats were immediate and short-lived: a predator, a storm, a scarcity of food. Once the threat passed, their nervous systems returned to baseline. They recovered. They rested. But your life doesn't work that way. Your threats are constant, ambient, and often invisible. They don't come and go. They hover. They accumulate. They never fully resolve. The news tells you the world is in crisis. Your phone buzzes with notifications. Your inbox fills faster than you can empty it. Your calendar crowds with obligations. Your social media feed shows you everyone else's highlight reel while you're struggling through an ordinary Tuesday. And beneath all of this, your nervous system is trying to process, to respond, to keep you safe in a world it wasn't designed to navigate. Let's talk about information overload. In the past, the information you encountered was limited. You knew what happened in your village, your community, perhaps the neighboring region. That was it. Now you carry a device in your pocket that connects you to billions of people and endless streams of information. News from across the world, opinions from strangers, images, videos, messages, updates, constantly. Your brain cannot distinguish between information that's relevant to your life and information that isn't. It processes all of it as potentially important, potentially urgent, potentially something you need to pay attention to. And so your nervous system stays activated, stays alert, stays scanning. Because how can you rest when there's always more to know, always more to respond to, always another crisis unfolding somewhere? This is called cognitive load, and it's exhausting. Your brain has a limited capacity for processing information, for making decisions, for managing attention. And when that capacity is exceeded, when you're constantly consuming, constantly connected, constantly available, your nervous system begins to buckle under the weight. Anxiety isn't a sign that you're weak. It's a sign that you're human, that your ancient brain is doing its best in a world that demands too much, too fast, too always. Then there's the pace of life itself. Everything moves faster now. Communication is instant. Responses are expected immediately. Productivity is measured in constant output. Rest is seen as laziness. Stillness is seen as wasted time. Your body was designed for rhythms, for cycles of activity and rest, for seasons of effort and seasons of recovery. But modern life flattens those rhythms. It demands the same energy, the same availability, the same performance every single day. You wake to an alarm. You rush through your morning. You move from task to task, obligation to obligation, screen to screen. And even when you're not actively working, you're still mentally engaged, planning, worrying, thinking ahead. There's no true downtime, no real rest, just a constant hum of partial attention spread across too many things. And your nervous system, which needs rest to recover, which needs stillness to recalibrate, never gets the chance. So it stays in a state of low-level activation, like a car engine that never fully turns off. It keeps running, keeps humming, keeps burning fuel even when you're not moving. And eventually, it overheats. Connection, too, has become a source of invisible weight. You are more connected than any generation in human history. You can reach anyone, anytime, anywhere, and they can reach you. But connection without boundaries becomes exhausting, draining, overwhelming. You're expected to be available, to respond quickly, to maintain relationships not just with the people physically near you, but with dozens, hundreds of people across digital spaces. Every message requires emotional energy. Every notification pulls your attention. Every update asks you to care about something, someone's success, someone's struggle, someone's opinion. And while some of this connection is beautiful, nourishing, and necessary, too much of it becomes a burden. Because your nervous system wasn't designed for this level of social complexity. It was designed for small groups, for face-to-face interaction, for relationships that unfolded slowly, with space and rhythm and natural pauses. Now you're trying to maintain connection with more people than your ancestors would have met in a lifetime. And your brain, your heart, your nervous system, they're all struggling to keep up.
And then there's the pressure to perform, to achieve, to be enough. You're told you should be productive, successful, healthy, well-rested, well-informed, creative, balanced, present, ambitious. You should exercise, eat well, meditate, read, learn, grow, contribute, make a difference. And all of this is good. All of it is valuable. But all of it together becomes impossible. Because there are only so many hours in a day, only so much energy in your body, only so much capacity in your nervous system. And when you're constantly falling short of these impossible standards, when you're constantly feeling like you're not doing enough, not being enough, anxiety follows. Not because you're failing, but because the expectations themselves are unrealistic, unsustainable, inhuman. Breathe with me now. Let's put the backpack down for a moment. In through your nose, feel the air fill your lungs. Out through your mouth, feel the weight begin to lift. You don't have to carry everything, not all at once, not all the time. You can set things down, even just for a moment, even just for this breath. The world will keep turning, the information will keep flowing, the demands will keep coming. But right now, in this moment, you can rest. You can be still. You can simply exist without needing to do, to achieve, to respond. So when anxiety arrives without a clear reason, consider this. Maybe there is no single reason. Maybe it's the accumulation of everything. The pace of life, the weight of information, the pressure to perform, the constant connection, the lack of true rest. Each one, on its own, might be manageable, but together, they create a burden your nervous system was never meant to carry. And anxiety becomes the signal, the alarm that says, this is too much. I need space. I need slowness. I need to put something down. It's not weakness. It's not failure. It's your body's way of saying, I'm overwhelmed, and I need help. And perhaps the first step toward healing isn't fixing something that's broken. It's recognizing that you're not broken at all. You're simply carrying more than any human should. And it's okay to put some of that weight down. It's okay to rest, to say no, to protect your energy, to choose less instead of more, to prioritize your nervous system's need for stillness over the world's demand for constant availability. But before you can do that, you need to understand what your anxiety has been trying to tell you all along. Not as an enemy, not as a problem, but as a messenger carrying wisdom. You've been too busy, too overwhelmed, too exhausted to heal.
Chapter 11. The Gentle Return to Ground. You've journeyed through the landscape of your own nervous system. You've met the ancient parts, the chemical messengers,
the loops and predictions. Now it's time to come back, softer, wiser, with new understanding of why you feel what you feel, even when there seems to be no reason at all. We've traveled far together tonight, through the whisper before the storm, into the depths of your ancient brain where the amygdala watches and waits, through the language your body speaks when words fail, into the invisible weather of molecules moving through your blood. We've explored the memories your mind forgot, but your body still holds, the loops that feed themselves, the predictions your brain makes to keep you safe, the nervous system that never stops listening. We've stood in the space where safety feels like a stranger, and we've acknowledged the invisible weight you carry simply by being human in this world. Now it's time to return, to come back to this moment, to this breath, to the quiet understanding that has been building beneath our journey. You are not broken. You never were. Let's breathe together one more time, slowly, gently. In through your nose. Feel your chest rise. Feel your belly expand. Out through your mouth. Feel the release. Feel the softening. Notice where you are right now, the surface beneath you, the temperature of the air, the sounds around you, near or distant. You are here. You are present. You are safe in this moment. And everything we've explored tonight, all the science, all the patterns, all the reasons why anxiety arrives without warning, it all leads to one simple truth. Your anxiety is not random. It is not meaningless. It is not a sign of weakness or failure. It is your body's intelligent response to a world that moves too fast, demands too much, and rarely pauses long enough to let you rest. It is the language of your nervous system trying to protect you, even when the methods feel overwhelming. It is the echo of old memories, old patterns, old survival strategies that once kept you safe, but now keep you vigilant, even when vigilance is no longer needed. Understanding this doesn't make anxiety disappear. I won't promise you that. But understanding changes everything. Because when you know why your heart races for no reason, you can meet it with curiosity instead of fear. When you understand why your body stays tense even when you're safe, you can offer it compassion instead of frustration. When you recognize why your mind predicts danger that never arrives, you can gently remind it, "Thank you for trying to protect me, but I'm okay. We're okay." This is the beginning of healing, not fixing, not erasing, but softening, integrating, learning to work with your nervous system instead of fighting against it. Your amygdala, that ancient alarm, will always be there. It will always watch. It will always try to keep you safe. But you can learn to speak to it, not with words, but with signals, with breath, with movement, with the slow accumulation of moments where you rest and nothing bad happens. Over time, with patience, with practice, your amygdala begins to learn that not every racing thought means danger, not every unexpected sound means threat, not every moment of uncertainty means disaster. It learns through experience, not logic, through repetition, not reasoning. And the more you offer your nervous system evidence of safety, through slow breaths,
through gentle movement, through moments of stillness, the more it begins to trust that safety is real. The chemicals in your blood, the adrenaline that sparks, the cortisol that lingers, they will still flow. This is biology. This is how your body responds to stress. But you can learn to recognize them, to understand that a racing heart is not a heart attack, that tight shoulders are not a sign of danger, that the fog in your mind is cortisol speaking, not your true clarity fading. And when you recognize these sensations as temporary, as physiological, as part of your body's ancient survival system, they become less frightening, less overwhelming, less all-consuming. You can watch the storm of molecules move through you like weather passing through the sky, knowing it will come, knowing it will go, knowing you can breathe through it. The loops that feed themselves, thought creating feeling, feeling creating thought, they will still arise. This is how your brain works. This is the pattern it has learned. But you can begin to notice the loop, to catch it early, to create a small space between the thought and the reaction. My heart is racing. That's a sensation. What story am I telling about it? This pause, this tiny moment of awareness is where change begins, where the loop can slow, where you can choose gently to step off the wheel. Not every time, not perfectly, but sometimes, and sometimes is enough. Your nervous system, that vast, tireless network, will continue listening, monitoring, scanning. This is its nature. This is what it does. But you can begin to send it different signals, signals of safety, signals of rest. Through your breath, through your posture, through the environments you choose, through the people you surround yourself with, through the pace you allow yourself to move at. Your nervous system learns through experience, and every time you choose slowness over speed, rest over productivity, presence over distraction, you're teaching it something new.
You're showing it that safety is possible, that rest is allowed, that you don't have to stay ready all the time. The invisible weight you carry, the weight of modern life, of constant connection, of endless information, it won't disappear. The world will continue to demand, to pull, to ask more of you than you can give. But you can learn to put some of that weight down, to say no, to protect your energy, to create boundaries that honor your nervous system's limits. This is not selfishness. This is survival. This is recognizing that you cannot pour from an empty cup, that you cannot give what you do not have, that rest is not a luxury, it is a necessity. And when you honor that necessity, when you allow yourself to rest without guilt, to be still without feeling lazy, your nervous system begins to recalibrate, to find its baseline again, to remember what balance feels like. So as we close this chapter, as we come to the end of this journey together, I want you to hold this understanding close. You feel anxious for no reason because your body is responding to signals you haven't consciously noticed, because your nervous system has learned patterns it's still following, because you're carrying more than any human was ever meant to carry in a world that moves faster than evolution prepared you for. But none of this means you're broken. It means you're sensitive, aware, deeply connected to the systems inside you that are trying with everything they have to keep you safe. And now that you understand these systems, now that you've met the amygdala, traced the chemistry, watched the loops, listened to the nervous system,
You can begin to work with them instead of against them. You can begin to heal, not by fighting your anxiety, but by understanding it, by listening to what it's trying to tell you, by honoring the wisdom buried beneath the worry. Breathe with me one last time. In through your nose, deep and slow. Out through your mouth, gentle and long. Feel yourself here, grounded, present, held by this moment. You have everything you need within you, the capacity to heal, the wisdom to understand, the courage to keep going even when it's hard. And you don't have to do this alone. If this journey has brought you comfort, if it has helped you understand yourself a little better, I invite you to stay connected with Soft Light Theory. Subscribe to this channel so you can continue this healing journey with us. More episodes are coming, each one exploring a different aspect of how your mind and body work together, how healing happens, and how you can find peace in a world that often feels overwhelming. Like this video if it resonated with you. Share it with someone who might need to hear these words tonight. And leave a comment below. Tell us how you're feeling, what you've learned, or what you'd like us to explore next. You're not alone in this. We're walking this path together, slowly, gently, one breath at a time. Until next time, may you rest easy, may you feel safe, and may you know deep in your bones that you are enough exactly as you are. Good night, and thank you for trusting me with your time, your attention, and your tender heart.